One of the soft skills that's gone downhill quite a lot over the last couple of years, especially, is how to write an email to your instructor. And this is very understandable why this has come about. So many of us now have smartphones, and so what's happened is that the texting type language has transferred over into how we write emails. And this is especially bothersome for instructors because instructors are professionals, as well as they're trying to teach their students how to become professionals. And so it's pretty unprofessional to send an email that sounds like a text message unless it's just buddy to buddy or something like that. But if you're sending it to an instructor or your boss or anybody in an official position for that matter, you really need to be careful in how you send an email or what you write in your email. So here's some things to think about when you're writing emails to your instructor. Number one, make sure you've got an appropriate email address. This can either be your school provided email address or at least a professional sounding email address that you have, but not an unprofessional sounding email address. And I made a video on this earlier that you can watch if you're curious what I mean by appropriate email address. Number two, at the bottom, sign your email. And again, this is kind of goes back to that texting thing. A lot of students will send emails and just write out their email and click send. But if you don't sign it, then I don't know who you are, what class you're coming from, or any of those things. So just make sure to take 2 seconds and just put your name at the bottom of the email. And also a tremendous help is if you would list the class that you're in, because you have to remember instructors have, if they have, 5 classes of students with 25 each, then that's over 100 students that they have to keep up with fall, spring, and possibly summer. It's very difficult to quickly remember who each of these students are. So like I said, it's just a big help if you put your class just below your name. And then lastly, make sure that you use proper English and not the texting language type of English when you're writing an email. So let's look at an example here. This would be a very typical example that I would very easily get in one of my classes. So I've got a made up email address here, surferguy95@gmail.com. And notice that gives me no clue as to who this is. And the language in the email is very text message sounding. When are you going to be in your office today? That's just very, very unprofessional. So there's some things we would want to clean up before we sent this type of email to our instructor. The first thing that I mentioned was this guy needs a more professional sounding email address. Usually you like first name and last name or some version thereof in your email address. Second of all, that helps. I could look at the address and see who's sending me this, but even better than that would be to actually sign the bottom. So just put your name at the bottom so I can see who it is that's sending this email address. But remember, as an instructor, I've probably got over 100 students I'm keeping up with. And so I may not quickly know who John Smith is or what class he's in of mine. Now, something as simple as office hours, I guess it doesn't really matter that much. But if you're asking, do we have a test this week? Well, some classes might and some classes might not. I would need to know what section of mine that you're in of what particular class. So let's also put down at the bottom, okay, John's in Math 101, and not just my Math 101 class, but my Monday, Wednesday class that meets at 9:45. And I say, oh, okay, that John, okay, I know exactly who that is, and he wants to know if I'm going to be in my office today. So that's decent, that's not terrible, but again, this language that we're using right here, are, you, and your, that would just drive most instructors up a wall. And it might not sound like a big deal to you, but it will be a big deal to them. So even if you're totally cool with that, remember, it's not all about you, it's about what's professional, because getting a job, you would never send this type of email to your boss, or I hope you wouldn't, because you probably wouldn't have a job for very long. So the last thing we're going to do is clean this up a little bit. And it's real simple. We're not talking major things here, but just make it sound more like proper English. So the last thing we'll do is we'll maybe give it a subject, just office hours, so I can quickly tell, what this email might be about. And then let's make it say, Mr. Henson, when will you be in your office today? And it's nothing crazy formal about that. It's just good, proper English. Thanks, John Smith, Math 101, Monday, Wednesday class at 9:45 a.m. So this is how we would want to send an email to one of our instructors. So just remember, try to differentiate the texting type language that you might send to your buddies to a professional email that you would send to your instructor. And even if you have a good relationship with your instructor, I oftentimes go with by Devin with my students on a first name basis, and that's okay. Some instructors are good with that, but still go a step beyond what you would be expected to do, and just make it sound more professional than less professional.